Technology industry in India has gained a brand identity in India and has emerged as a knowledge economy due to its IT and ITES sector. The IT-ITES industry has two major components, IT services and business process outsourcing. The growth in the service sector in India has been led by the IT-ITES sector, contributing substantially to increase in GDP, employment, and exports. The major cities that account for about 90% of the sector's exports are Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, Delhi, Mumbai, and Kolkata. Bangalore is considered to be the Silicon Valley of India because it is a leading IT exporter. Exports dominate the IT-ITES industry and constitute about 77% of the total industry revenue. Though the IT-ITES sector is export-driven, the domestic market is also significant with robust revenue growth, and this sector has also led to massive employment generation. I welcome you all to the panel discussion on current trends in the IT sector. We have with us our esteemed industry guest, Mr. K.V. Ramesh, Managing Director in Financial Services, Accenture India Delivery Center. Mr. K.V. Ramesh has 20+ years of experience in insurance industry and IT. He leads the financial services industry programs for Accenture in India. Mr. K.V. Ramesh has worked with top insurers in US, Europe, and Asia Pacific with experience in large-scale IT services, product management, and implementation of commercial IT applications for insurers. I request Dr. Manasa, Director ISBR, to felicitate Mr. K.V. Ramesh. We have with us Mr. Satish Ramaya, Head Talent Transformation, Wipro Infotech. Mr. Satish Ramaya has over 26 years of experience in the IT industry. I request Mr. Abbas, Head Corporate Relations, to felicitate Mr. Satish Ramaya. We have with us Mrs. Hema Ayadurai, Senior HR Manager, Oracle. Mrs. Hema Ayadurai has over 14 years of experience in talent acquisition. She is associated with Oracle for more than 10 years and manages the entire product development hiring in IDC. I request Ms. Bindu to felicitate Mrs. Hema Ayadurai. We also have with us Mr. John Sagairaj, Head Learning and Development, CGI. Mr. John Sagairaj is a seasoned HR professional. He's previously been associated with Logica CMG, Mahindra Satyam, Ashok Leyland. He has 21 years of experience, 15 years in IT, and 5 years in manufacturing. His experience runs into the field of talent acquisition, resource management, HR, BP, planning, and purchase. I request Mr. Kanakaraj to felicitate Mr. John Sagairaj.
Welcome, sir.
With this introduction, I would request our moderator of today's panel discussion, Mr. Kanakaraj, to take it from here. Over to you, Professor Kanakaraj.
Thank you, Ranjita, for this nice welcome note. Yeah. Now, we will start this session with with an introduction of this industry by Mr. K.V. Ramesh, and then followed with another small introduction on, which is very, very essential for you guys as to where you fit in and what kind of knowledge you require to get into this kind of an industry. Yeah. Without wasting much time, I now request Mr. Ramesh to proceed on with the presentation.
Do we have the deck up? Okay, so this is for the non-essential things that you need, and then the essential things will come up, I guess. Okay, so my name is Ramesh. Thanks for the nice introduction. I've had the benefit of having worked in different areas. So I started my career in a bank, moved on to an insurance company doing insurance business, moved in insurance to IT, then worked in IT for the last 20 plus years in the cusp of industry and insurance. So I bring certain unique perspectives to you guys, which people who have continued in IT will not be able to bring. So that part of it, we will get Satish to talk about, who's been in the IT industry alone, and the technological aspects of IT. So, we have got a nice panel here. So let me, without much ado, let me just take you through what it means from an IT sector standpoint, okay? So I know as MBA graduates, you want to do big picture thinking, right? You want to come top down. What's the industry, what does it do, etc. So let's spend a few minutes talking about what the industry is all about. Is there a flipper or will somebody help? Okay, perfect. So, to understand the IT industry for us and for many of you, we can cut and slice the IT industry in many ways, but I chose to look at it from the outsourcing maturity curve. What does it mean? Two big pieces, IT and IT-enabled services and BPO. But if you look at market value creation and where the maturity is happening, you will see that it starts with a lot of BPO related, which is in terms of value addition to your clients' businesses. The maturity increases more and more, and you will see that ADM is pretty much application development and maintenance, and IT infrastructure, which is setting up the servers, the environments, the data centers, etc., and managing that for your clients. You're seeing that a substantial part from document management right up to IT infrastructure is pretty much hitting the maturity curve. What does that mean? That you're able to deliver real value to clients who are choosing these services. And that's pretty much a background, a large big picture thinking that you need to keep in mind on where value is being added. And why is this important? You will soon, you can flip to the next one, is the global outsourcing market. Good news, IT industry continues to grow, and the global outsourcing market continues to grow. And the IT industry in India is very well positioned because globally, all companies need to cut down their IT costs, correct? So if you look at typically, let's take a US insurer where you have an IT department of an US insurer, right? The typical per day costs of a US employee will be somewhere close to $100 to $120 an hour. That will be the run rate that a company, you take an automotive industry or any industry, for them to have an internal IT department, $120 an hour would be an average blended rate. that they have to pay if they do not outsource and if they do not leverage offshore. But by moving and having a mix of onshore plus offshore, you can get to somewhere close to a blended rate of about $45 an hour. So imagine $45 an hour for a team of 1,000 people over multiple years. What should be the cost? What should be the price advantage? And that goes straight into the bottom line. So that's real value. The next thing is availability of talent. When you are not able to grow, when you can't get people and skills onto your table, you limit your business plans, correct? You know, as leaders, if you can't get people, you can't get resources you don't have, and with a fixed amount of money, you can only do this much. But if I can give you a solution which can expand capacity, which gives you faster time to market, multiple shifts, and you can cut down your time to launch your product or your service, that's value addition to your business. It increases the speed of velocity of your business. So that is the next big thing that's happening in the outsourcing world. Good news, IT industry continues to grow, outsourcing industry continues to grow. But the big thing that you must have all read that's hitting the IT industry is digital. And here I've taken the liberty of giving you Accenture's technology vision. Accenture's technology vision for this year, every year it used to talk about the big technologies that are coming into play, but this year it says, you know, screaming headlines, every business is a digital business. What does it mean? That every industry is moving towards digitization. And when you move towards digitization, you have to fundamentally rethink how you operate. If you take an industry value chain, what do? How do you actually design your product or services? How do you manufacture, create these products and services? How do you deliver that to the client, to your customers and clients, and how do you service them? How do you collect the money, and how do you manage your back office operations from there on, right? If you look at that and apply it for every industry has a play in the digital world. Or put it the other way, digital has a play in every industry. And there are certain industries which are more prone to digitization as compared to others. So the question is, which ones are more prone? There are certain which are very core. Digitization is very core to their business. Banking, media, software, high-tech businesses. So where digitization is the way you deliver your service. That's how you right from how you conceptualize a product through service delivery, digitization is at the core. But there are certain other industries which are a little behind. But it will soon follow. So that's the key message, that all organizations are now pushed to digitize. What does digitize mean? 4 important pieces. Any of you have heard the word SMAC, S-M-A-C? Hands up, anybody who have heard SMAC? SMAC, technology world. How many engineers do we have here? Engineers with IT background? Computer science? Okay, so I would expect at least them to talk about SMAC. Social media, analytics, cloud, and mobility. SMAC, these are the 4 words. That's a terminology. You guys must know these terminologies, right, if you want to impress. So SMAC in a digital world is the big thing. And every industry has a play in there, okay? So let's move on. The reason I talk about this is the next big wave that is hitting every industry. So irrespective of which industry you go and work in, whatever capacity and whatever roles, being clear with digital, what digital technologies have a play in a respective market, having a point of view on it will be extremely useful. There's a very nice study. Please Google. You'll find a lot of material about digitization in different industries. There are McKinsey studies. There is Capgemini study, Sloan study. There's even Accenture has its point of views on the Accenture webpage on what does it mean to different industries. And it's very good to equip yourself with this knowledge. Digitization is the next big thing hitting the world. So let's turn our focus a little bit to India, right? And all of you know this. It's not something very new. But 2 or 3 quick pointers. India's GDP, despite the UPA government, and despite the stalling and all other things that is happening, continues to grow and will continue to grow. And still it is growing at a pace, at an aggregate that will overtake a number of large developed markets. If we had continued our trajectory of 8 to 9% growth, we would have been, the BRIC economies would have constituted 60% of world GDP. That was the forecast, but we are a little away from in 2025. We were supposed to be 60% of world's GDP as compared to 16% a few years ago. So there's a very clear shift in GDP where wealth creation is happening, and which means, what does it mean? When wealth creation moves at such a big pace to a different center, what does it mean? What does it mean? Yes. It means something, right, to the economies? What does it mean to India? Jobs, development, economic growth. What does that lead to? Opportunities in what? Job opportunities. Beyond that? Infrastructure, better standard of living. What is needed to grow? What is needed to man these businesses? You need managers. You need managerial talent. And we are woefully inadequate to meet that inadequate talent, right? So most of the world's managerial talent is in the so-called developed economies, and there's a race to grow managerial talent, and you will see that. And India has a fairly good, you can say the DNA or the fundamentals are very good for it to grow. So can we move on? There's a lot of economic reforms that are coming in, and you've seen that the UPA government has woken up in its last few years to push through reforms with ordinance, and sometimes they even don't know which one to bring in, and bring in an audience of convicted politicians, and then they have to hastily pull it back. But many of the reforms are overdue, and many more coming, which will create the right climate. I think the right climate for growth is getting created, right? New bank licenses, land acquisition bills have far-reaching impact on the economy. So again, coming back to ITES in India, ITES and BPM continues to grow at a combined ratio of 8 to 12% in India. And it is good news. There are very few industries which continue to grow at 8 to 12% year on year on year. It pulls along a number of things, right? And in terms of, can you move on? In terms of what does it mean to you, right? I think 2 or 3 big things I just want to highlight here. First, hang on, direct employment. It means jobs. It means jobs, and IT has been one of the biggest contributor to jobs. So huge direct jobs, increasing your share of the global outsourcing pie. 52%, 50+% is still coming to India. Imagine there are other countries nibbling at us, right? Apart from nearshore centers in the Western geographies, we still have China, Philippines, Vietnam, Burma, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, all these guys nibbling at the share of the outsourcing market. And finally, startup companies, right? So there is a lot of scope for new entrepreneurs to come and start up, other than experienced entrepreneurs who want to start up. We'll talk about it. So these are very important trends that are hitting you. And this means big things for management graduates, right? Finally, IT talent pool. The IT industry is one of the largest, 200,000 jobs a year. It continues to net jobs it's able to absorb, which is pretty significant. I think you heard Narayan Murthy say, please don't kill the goose that lays the golden eggs, right? Don't be shy of saying this IT industry is contributing so much to the tax, so much to the peripheral cascading impact on the economy. So don't kill it, nurture it. It still needs to nurture. And as the IT industry is moving to the next phase of growth, what does it mean to you? Okay? There are a lot of new things happening in the IT industry, and I don't want to bore you with what business model changes are happening, and some of you who specialize in IT will understand IT industry predominantly works on dollar per hour for a resource. We have to get out of that to a non-linear growth. We must be able to build IP-related work. So we must do high-end jobs like product management, build products, IT architecture, business analysis and design, and get out of just core development jobs to higher-end jobs for us to sustain. Because once you do higher-end jobs, you can expand the bottom of the life cycle, the development life cycle, and you can grow. Sheer being a cost player is not good enough for the IT industry. So it's going to grow. NASSCOM has recognized it. Most IT companies have recognized it. Every IT company worth its salt is trying to build consulting skills as part of their IT organization, and you will see different stages of that happening. So new opportunities beyond traditional developer jobs are coming in. And as management graduates, you've got a lot of things to play in that area by pushing the difference. So I had a brief conversations with Professor Kanakadasan and Manasa on what else can the business schools do to bridge the gap between what industry expects and what business schools brings to the table. There is a gap, let's recognize it, right? So the more acutely you guys are aware of it, the more you keep asking, what can I do to get closer to the industry, the more interactions you have with the industry, and this sort of a great opportunities to connect and understand the industry will make you get more sharper in your course materials. And beyond just your course materials, your curriculum, extracurricular interests can be developed, and you also start building your networks of people with whom you can interact and get a closer view of it. So with that, I conclude my presentation to set a picture of what the IT industry is all about. We have a great panel here who can take some questions, and also we will share other perspectives for you. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, sir. Really, it was an eye-opener when you gave the big picture of the IT industry, the strategic price advantage, and especially the SMAC, the social media analytics and cloud. Probably now these people will go back and Google it out and find out what it is. Okay, now I welcome Ms. Hema to share her presentation.
Very good morning to everybody here. When it was told, speak about current IT trends, I just thought about what would really be favorable to MBA students, because you're going to pass out of college and maybe, look for opportunities, or probably what would go in your head right now is, what do I do after I'm out of college? Where am I going to be? Will I get a job? Right? I'm sure this is what you would be looking at. But probably you would be expecting us to talk about where all you can get job opportunities. Right? So as Ramesh said, it's perfect in terms of, the industry is growing, but do we get that kind of a talent? Is the talent going in parallel to that growth? We have all of you here in this room doing management studies. Now, what is expected by the industry? Because it's going in a very dynamic and fast pace, right? So I've just covered on few aspects on, what has changed and what things are happening, how we would want you to look at career as such. So I come with the specialization of talent acquisition. So we talk to, typically in a day, I interview a lot of people at different levels for Oracle. So it's a kind of an experience that I wanted to share and make sure you get the right message. And of course, you have a great panel, so you might want to connect and take more inputs, right? So if you look at my presentation, it starts with resume, right? I mean, if you need a job, you need something to let people know what you are. Even that has changed, right? So if you go to the next slide, have you heard infographics? You're familiar with infographics? Good. I have one hand there, right? So you can go to the next slide as well. These are few examples for you, just to understand, even the resume, which is like 2-3 pages, is not going to help you, capture that attention with the person that you're interviewing. It's very important for you to tell in that quick few minutes that you have, the person who's opposite to you in terms of what you carry and what are you going to bring in, right? So this is a quick way of presenting yourself with all the positives that you carry as an individual to the industry. So this is a breakthrough, because since you wanted to understand IT trends, I understand, but it starts here. It doesn't start after you getting a job, or it doesn't start with a job search. Before a job search, you need an identity for yourself, right? Because there are a lot of universities and so many people would pass out, right? So it's important for you to carry an identity for your own self. That's the most important thing, and these are just examples. You don't have to just follow this, but I'm saying this is how things have changed. It's important for you to start looking at things differently. And if you go next, I've just mentioned about refreshing your basics. Now, each one of you are specializing in some area, right? I mean, you have a specialization, either marketing, finance, IT, whatever, right? Human resources. Now, when you specialize, it is not about what you do in this 2 years in MBA. It's all about your previous education also, which is going to carry forward and support that. Quite often we see that people do not refresh their basics. So when we interview or speak to people, we understand that certain basics or fundamentals are not refreshed when they get into a interview or when they're speaking to somebody, right? So this is definitely important, and it holds good for you to sustain IT industry. After certain years of experience, what we find in people is when we talk to them and we ask some basic stuffs, could be a design pattern or whatever, right? We don't see them to answer that, but they've reached certain level, they are very good in that. They lack the basics, right? So it's very important to set a clock for yourself and just refresh. What did I study, or what is that I've learned? Even if you get a job and you're there, how do I refresh every time on my fundamentals? Because that is what is going to help you, first place, to fetch a good opportunity, in the second place, to sustain the opportunity and grow further. The moment you lack your basics or you don't do this refresh button, you will have difficulties in further growth. Maybe you would stick on, you would sustain. The growth is what is going to have the difficulty, right? And you guys are being MBAs, you are expected to move over a point in time to lead people. When you have to lead people, you need to have that knowledge to lead people. It's not about just manning people, right? It's no more like, get this job done. Now, if the person doesn't know how to do the job, you need to go get the job yourself done to help him understand, him or her, how to do it. So it's no more just, managing the time, delivery. It doesn't stop with it. Everybody as an individual needs to understand how a job gets done. Only then you will be successful even in your management career. So you need to understand the basics really well. This is being hands-on. This is what exactly I just said now. Maybe you can go to the next one. Yeah, so this is for IT specific I did, but so quite often we come across people who become project managers over a period where they lose their sight of coding. They would have done this for a couple of years, grown into this role. Now no more, the opportunities for them become very difficult because they're not hands-on anymore. I'm sure even the panel here would also agree. The hiring trend has changed. We no more look for only managers. We look for somebody who's hands-on. So if you look at most of the roles which get done are typically hands-on managers. It's not just managers. When we say hands-on managers, okay, you don't have a team, or if the team is not up to it's not raising to the level which is required, please get down and get the job done. That's what is expected. So, this is important. Again, this adds to the previous one, which I said in terms of refreshing your basics, because if you're not hands-on, you're going to, again, have, the issues of entering as well as to sustaining the career in IT industry. Okay, in terms of a career, I'm sure this is the most important that everybody would be thinking, how do I get in, what do I do? And the most important thing I try to spread this message out is, at any point in time, for anything that you do, you're the only person who's responsible. It's nowhere about, you know what, I didn't get a job. You know what, I didn't get an opportunity. If I would have got this, I would have been this. Great, so break it, get through, right? So it's not about ifs and buts and somebody has done this and just because my manager did not do this, I'm not here to. So nothing of that works anymore. In this corporate world, we call it as blame game. It just doesn't work. You hold responsible for yourself right from the moment you're out of this college. I think even now, I'm sure the college would be training you on those lines. So in terms of a career, it's only you who make or break it. When we talk to people, at least on the talent acquisition side, when we talk to people at Oracle, I tell them, here's what we're looking at you, but you know what? You can grow to whatever limits you want. Sky's the limit. Oracle being a global company, and we have all kinds of jobs with us, you decide what you want to do. I can just bring you in if you're the right talent. Now, from there on, your journey starts of you deciding what you want to do. So there are contract employees that I've hired who are senior principal consultants with the company now, doing fantastic in UK and US. But people who would have joined along with them, maybe they would have dropped the ball. So it's all about you making your own career, right? So this talks about it. This was a simple quote that I wanted to flash through from Swami Vivekananda. This holds good. This is in a lot of your management books if you look at it. So you are the only soul who's responsible for your career. Okay, so this is about SMAC and a couple of things that Ramesh mentioned. It's more about being creative. So even at college or from the time you would have started being independent, you would see people saying, this is so monotonous. I come in and give lecture and I'm kind of done and I get back. Such a monotony in my life. Now, monotony is you. Monotony is not what is around you, right? So if anybody knows CAPTCHA, okay, you also know reCAPTCHA. Okay, so CAPTCHA is basically to make sure the computers identify when you're logging in that you're a human, correct? Now, they thought over it, they found that fantastic. I mean, this is really helping us. But the person who got this idea tried looking into it and found millions of people are doing this day in, day out, because for every site, be it your Facebook, Yahoo, wherever, you need to use CAPTCHA. Now, but the effort, they multiplied it by 10 seconds because it takes approximately 10 seconds for you to figure that word out and key it in. They identified that so many hours are getting wasted because so many millions of people are doing it. We're wasting so many hours. Now, the person thought about it and felt we need to make it productive. Ramesh also mentioned about something called digitization. So all the books that we have, which are pure hard copies, are getting digitized. Google, Amazon, Kindle, and all, you'll find them, right? So a lot of books are getting digitized. Now, the books which are really old, which is close to some 30, 40 years, if you try to scan them, and there is a particular technology used to translate the scanning into words so that the book gets digitized, computer cannot read some of those words because it's old. So that's where reCAPTCHA comes in, the innovation steps in, right? So instead of people keying in every 10 seconds and wasting their time, why don't we use this? So there are 2 words given these days in reCAPTCHA, one of which is the correct word for which the computer knows that this is the term. It understands the word. The other term is something that computer does not figure out what word it is, which each one of us are contributing today. We have digitized so many books. If you are an internet savvy person, if you log in day in, day out, we are digitizing books. You see the flip side of it, so many millions of books are getting done with a huge crowd contributing to every single term which is getting digitized. That's innovation, right? So innovation and creativity is must for you to even crack through, right? So what they look for is some of these basics for you to think out of the box, for you to know your basics well, so that you can build, if your foundation is strong, you can build over it, right? So these are some of the key essentials for you to break through a great career in this industry. When it comes to jobs, MBAs do have a lot of opportunities. And India is known for this, right? I mean, even during recession, if you get into malls or restaurants, do you see a crowd? Do you wait in queue? We are doing well, guys. I mean, recession doesn't mean a lot in terms of we have quite a big talent within our country to overgo this very quick or overcome this very quick, right? So it is definitely, you shouldn't take an opportunity to say, when I passed out, I had recession, hence my career is not doing good. Please do not do it. We have opportunities. Maybe in place of 10, 5 is getting hired. So be the one who's competitive to get the 5. Be one among the 5, right? So a lot of opportunities in terms of finance, in terms of, if you would have heard, we have something called industry groups. So I think partially covered by Ramesh. So we have healthcare, we have retail, we have business analytics. We have a lot of these subgroups or industries which is added on to IT. It is not just a pure core development or IT years where you do a BPO job. So it's more domain and it drives you to it. So it's important for you to kind of understand, what is your specialization and where do you want to be. Put your investment in that. So industries are adding more to IT, and we are kind of having more and more opportunities for people who are doing fairly good in their academics, along with the kind of foundation being strong. So these are just few things that I wanted to share with you guys today. And over to the panel and moderator further on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hema. Definitely my students would be getting back to their basics and preparing an identity for themselves. Now I request Mr. John Sagairaj to present his views. Now he's a very seasoned HR professional. Sir, you can use the mic here itself. It's not a problem. Okay.
Yeah, I've got tired of sitting. Hi. Mic on?
Yeah, it's on.
Hi. With so much of knowledge that you've gathered in the past 10 minutes, I really don't know where and what I can contribute. I'd like to make it just very simple. Okay, you're all budding students. You're going to be stepping out of the real world in the next few months. Okay, and you're going to have a big challenge ahead of you. Many of you will be confused as to what next. What is that you need to do to make yourself fit to be part of the corporate? The transition from the college to the corporate is not an easy thing. Okay? And what you have learned so far and what you think that you have ahead of you, and once you step into the corporate world, the ground realities would sort of be completely different for quite many of you all. Some of you will get up, stand up, recover, and manage yourself. But there are quite many of you all will be in for a root shock. Okay? So that's where I think I'm just trying to give you some inputs. Sorry, I don't have a PPT. I mean, I'm not very comfortable with PPT also. And I'm sure many of you wouldn't want to see another set of PPTs because you've already seen quite a few sets of PPTs before me, okay? Now, what is it a company will look for in a prospective candidate? It's not only your degree, it's not only your technical capability. That's one important thing, yes. But apart from that, there's something more, something very, very important, okay? And that is a few parameters, that is your communication skills, your behavioral skills, your attitude. Just yesterday, I'm not a very crazy FB. I just log into FB twice in a day. Morning, I just want to see whose birthday it is, okay, so that I can wish them. And evenings, just glance through it, some of the photographs. I just saw one quote. It said, attitude is like a flat tire. If you have a bad attitude, it's like a flat tire. It doesn't take you anywhere. You might be a punter in your skills, but you're packaged with something, a bad attitude, nobody's going to pick you. It's very, very important. And in the course of the so many years of experience that I've got, I've interviewed many across levels, okay? I've done telephonic interviews, I've done interviews across the table. And what is that I see? If a person, I mean, usually what happens is the person is technically sort of, say, qualified, and then that person comes to me for the final round of interview. And then if I find that the person is putting up a show, throwing up an attitude, I definitely don't select that person. Why? Because that person is going to be messing around with the rest of the team. It's like a bad apple is going to ruin the entire basket full of good apples. And that's not what an organization would want, and that's not what a project manager would want. And I'm sure, the few years down the line, you will be having your own teams, and this is what your approach will be in life. Okay? Now, my colleague has thrown some information on how you need to project yourself, right from your resume. How you need to brush up your skills. It's all very, very important. I've seen CVs which comes in variety of colors. I mean, you think of rainbow and there's rainbow. I mean, that's not what a person who's reading through your CV wants. The person wants to see stuff, information, which will help that person to decide whether you can be called for an interview. And the moment you're called for an interview, believe me guys, 1 foot is already in the organization. You just need to drag your other foot. That's what it is. So what is that you need to present? You need to present something which will actually talk about yourself, your capabilities, and what you aspire to become. And don't go, I mean, giving a Mahabharata, 5, 6 pages. Nobody's got the patience, nobody's got the time. Yeah? Just sleep 2 pages. And be very, very honest with what you have and what you're going to be projecting in the CV. Be very honest. Okay? So, coming back to the package, the attitude and the communication skills. So don't dwell only on your technical capabilities. You need to remember that you're going to be a part and parcel of a big organization. You're not going to be a loner. You need to believe that man is a social being. You cannot be just independent. You cannot be a silo. You need to work with teams. As you step into the corporate world, you're going to be a lone contributor. Fine, that's only for some time. But then, for a period of time, you're going to be contributing to others' upliftment also. Okay, your contribution is going to be the key to success of the project, and then that's going to be the key to the success of the organization. Yeah. So it's a cascading effect. So you cannot say, I've done my part, that's it. I care a damn for what others are doing. You need to be bothered about the rest of the team also. That's very, very absolutely required. So if you're doing good, great, but you should also have a derived happiness in making others also succeed. Live and let live. Right? So if you can do this and realize that you are not a silo, you're going to be a part of a team, part of a project, part of an organization, then I'm sure with this kind of an attitude, you will be able to go way, way ahead in life. I'll just give you a gist. I mean, I don't want to give you too much of a gyan now because paucity of time, but I'll just give you a gist of an experience that I had having interviewed a candidate. Now, in one of the organizations that I worked, we used to go over to cities and try to identify talent, okay? So, the procedure used to be, people were expected to fill up a form, okay? After you fill up a form, there's a technical panel who will interview the person, and if the person is good enough, then they go to the next level, the HR round, then the final round of interview. So I, as a practice, used to go through the application blank, what the candidates fill up. Now, this has a series of questions. It's almost a repeat of what your biodata gives. But then there are certain portions, segments of the application blank that I focus on, and the others also in my division used to focus on, is what? What are your career aspirations? What are your hobbies? Okay? Now, why do we look at it? Two things. One, how you express yourself. Okay? Two, how is your English? Okay? What are your dreams? I mean, are you thinking ahead? Okay? That's what we try to capture. Okay? Because the application blank has, I mean, your CV gives all the information. What's the point in us asking for the information once again? But the criteria is these two segments. Now, what happened? This candidate was cleared by the technical panel, but just about above average. And then I went through the two segments which I was very keen to know about. Career aspirations, well, he thought something big, really. Hobbies. He wrote reading books, music, sports, and then he put ZIM. And I was puzzled. I didn't know what it was. After a while, I realized what it was. But then I was curious to meet this guy. So I called him. We had a quick discussion. 2-3 minutes he spoke about himself. And then I asked him, okay, what are your hobbies? He started with reading. I said, what kind of books do you read? And he said, one regional language. I wouldn't like to quote the native. So he said this language. Unfortunately, I don't read that language book, so I couldn't really continue the topic. And then I went ahead, and then I just pointed at the word ZIM. What is this? His face lit up. And he said, Zim, sir, Zim. Okay? That's the standard of communication skills some people have. How do you think they can prosper in an organization? You're going to be working for companies where you're going to be interacting only in English, okay? And mostly you're going to be talking to clients abroad. You're going to be talking to them over the phone. You're going to be talking to them across the table. And if you're not going to be good in your communication skills, you might be a punter in your respective skills, but it's not going to take you anywhere. So if you're going to be focusing only on your technical skills, my friends, I think you need to have a shift. You need to think, right? You need to think a little bit ahead. And you need to figure out what exactly companies need. And then become a total package. And that's when you'll be a success. Okay? And modesty is one of the most important things. That's part of the package. Okay? So I would like to conclude here, but before I conclude, I would like to just quote Peter Drucker. He says, future arrived when we were not looking. So we are still dealing with ideas, issues, and programs that are not fitting the world's new realities. So think ahead. Don't just be bothered about making fast money. Okay? For everything, there's a process, there's a timeline. So don't be in a hurry. Thanks.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable life experiences. Yeah. Now I would like to request Mr. Satish to point us.
Very good morning to the future leaders of this country, and my pranam to all the gurus in this campus. I was really very happy when I entered the campus this morning. I actually wanted to request Mr. Abbas and rest of them, can we change the agenda and the content for the panel discussion? Given that it's a beginning of the quarter for us, and at the beginning of the day from 7 a.m. I had calls about what's the plan for this quarter being a weekend. I wanted to say the very muhurtam that you have chosen today, the beginning of Navaratri, can we discuss with the students, how are we going to celebrate this quarter, given that Navaratri, Diwali, Christmas, New Year, everything is there. However, the agenda, I think, cannot be changed. So, I just want to reiterate and exactly state certain things what the panelists gave today. I am sure some of them, or for some of you, it could be a OHT, which we call it as overhead transmission. But everything that they have given is like a polio drop. It's a lifesaver for you. It's up to each one of you to peel that onion. Like Hema madam said, you are responsible. I think you should write this behind your bathroom door, bedroom door, puja room door, see it every day. You are responsible for everything in your life. If somebody behaves bad with you, it's because you probably gave that personality to him. If somebody behaves good with you, it's because you portrayed that way with him. What you give is what you get. If I just visualize you people today in the campus as the passengers waiting for a train to arrive, a train which is a career for you. It's possibly a couple of semesters away for you. I think you're all in third, fourth, so it could be 3-4 semesters away. But thankfully, this train called IT industry is treated as a golden chariot in this country. But every train is a train. So today, if you look at this particular train, the golden chariot, it is going to arrive and you are all eagerly waiting in a station to board and get onto your career start. Let me just give you a small brief of this train. From my personal experience, I can tell you, this whole IT industry can be summarized in just 2 sentences. In the beginning, there were many people and there was one machine called the mainframe. When I started my career in 85, 86, there was one mainframe. Around that, there were 2,000 terminals, 2,000 people who were working. Just after 30 years, the scenario has just reversed. There is one person and there are hundreds of servers serving a request for that guy. You go to office, you swipe your proximity card, there are 100 servers which will register everything about you. You go to an ATM machine, you swipe your card, at least in ICICI Bank, I know there are 42 servers, right from fraudulent server to HNI server, everything which will validate, finally give your own money out. Okay? So the scenario has just changed. Like any other industry, this industry also has gone through a couple of phases. Every industry has got, in general, 3 phases. The first is the utilization phase. That is when the seeding of the industry happens. Today we are in the seeding stage of biotechnology, the BT, right? So the IT industry saw its seeding or the utilization phase 30 years back, at least in this country. After the utilization phase, there is an optimization phase. In the utilization phase, there is a lot of ideation, innovation, investment, lot of products, future, so many things happen, and it's the era of everything, new, everything brewing in the kitchen. Post the utilization comes the optimization phase. That is when people ask, boss, in the utilization phase, I put in 10 rupees. Can you give me 12 rupees now? So while you are awaiting this golden chariot train to arrive at your station, remember the train has already passed the utilization phase in the last 30 years. Now it is in the optimization phase, correct? The people who are running this train could be shareholders, stakeholders, the venture capitalists, the government, or the customers, most important. They are asking, where is my ROI? Where is my return on investment? They want more. Dil mange more. But the mantra here in the optimization phase is more for less. I give you 10 rupees, you give me 20 rupees back. So while the industry is absolutely going through this optimization phase, you are boarding this train in this phase. So it is time for all of you to think absolutely different and absolutely in a lateral thinking, leaving behind what has happened, in a traditional thinking. What new that you can do to give more for less? That's exactly what your idea should be. So in this optimization phase, we will live for another at least 15, 20 years. And then comes the last phase called the saturation phase. Actually, if you see, at the bottom of the product pyramid, we have hit saturation in the IT industry. But the whole industry is not in the saturation phase, right? Whatever we used to do on the 20 kg, 14-inch desktop 20 years back, we all can do that in one handheld mobile today. And this is retail. You can buy it in Spencer and Reliance. So there is a consumerism which has already entered in this industry. It's a question of couple of decades, maximum 20 years, to enter completely into the saturation phase. Maybe you don't have to worry about the saturation phase. Your kids will be. You worry about the optimization phase. So you are boarding this train which has different bogies, which was very well laid out by Mr. Ramesh as SMAC. Social media, mobility, analytics, and computing. The train has various bogies. You choose based on your passion and the paisa, which bogie you want to enter. If you are finance-oriented person, analytics is the field for you, right? If you are technology-oriented person, your social media is another domain or a playground for you. Mobility, you want to contribute based on your technical background, mobility is the area, right? So please do a SWOT analysis of yourself. Decide where you want to be and what you want to be. Believe in you. For whatever it is, all of us are unique. No two human beings are absolutely same when it comes to a single parameter. You might be a very bad singer, that's okay. There are other singers to plug the gap. So you are carved out for something niche, something special. Identify what you are. Identify your passion. Do a SWOT analysis. Take a 360-degree feedback from your family, from your friends, from your gurus. Where am I good at? And focus that area. This is exactly what Mr. C.K. Prahlad also told, right? All of you must be knowing. The core competency is what everybody has to work with. You should not work with the surround competency. Identify your core competency. Identify the bogie which you want to enter and prepare for that with the right ticket. John very clearly said how the ticket should look like. It has two sides printed. One is a technical, the other is the non-technical part. The technical part keeps changing, right? So it could be Windows today, it could be Mac OS today. Technical field keeps changing. But if the other side of the ticket is strong, you will be able to absorb any technology that comes in your way. The other side of the ticket, the behavioral part, what he emphasized, is the most important. And in that non-technical side of the ticket, there is one line, which is the Om Prathamam, called attitude. If that is wrong, if that attitude does not gel with what the industry wants, you can never dream of seeing the train. Forget about boarding it. You are not allowed to see the train if that attitude is not there in you. Essentially, he said, the bottom of the pyramid. If I say Satish Ramaya, what is Satish Ramaya? And if you want to do a skill pyramid of Satish Ramaya, we are all paid in the industry for the skill pyramid that we have, not because I'm 5 foot and 6 packs. So if you look at the skill pyramid, at the bottom of the pyramid, there are certain things which are absolutely key, absolutely key. One is the attitude. And the second is learning. Are you a good learner? I'm sure Hema would not choose a person. Let's say there is X and Y, and X says, and Hema puts a question across to X and Y. So we are actually trying to embark big data. So are you ready? Will you do a project in big data? Right? X would say, yeah, madam, we will do, provided you give me training. Y would say, yes, definitely, why not? I will put all my best effort, I will learn, and then do my big data. I think Hema will choose Y. Because that person has demonstrated the attitude of what she clearly gave as a polio drop. I am responsible. I will learn, and I will put my best effort. Once you say that, the company will absolutely support you for rest of it. If my customer wants a nursery rhyme, you can't be singing a lungi dance in front of him. It's better you at least sing 2 lines of Twinkle Twinkle, company will fill the rest of the lines. If you don't fill the first 2 lines in a straightforward, right way, you are out. Or the person who hired you is out. So, you are in the optimization phase of the industry, and the industry is already having a lot of challenges, but definitely very, very, very lucrative and very, very informative. So you choose what you can contribute, how you can contribute. Prepare yourself adequately without forgetting that you as a person, as an individual, should be strong at the bottom of the pyramid. The best thing that can happen is you make paisa out of your passion. For any person who is career oriented, he will be only looking at the 4 P's. First, the passion. I want to do something in Facebook. I want to do something in this technology. So there is a passion. And ensure that you always contribute in your passion area, because you don't need any motivation. You will every day, 24/7, enjoy doing it because it's your passion. You don't need somebody to come and pat on the back and say, boss, it's a great job, and tomorrow throw you out of the building. It's you who will motivate you. So be clear, identify your passion, work in a focused manner in that area. Second, there is a papi pet ka saval. So look at paisa and see if that passion can earn you paisa. That's the best thing that can happen for somebody. Then third comes your place and the people to work with, etc., etc., etc. So at the bottom of the pyramid, you be absolutely clear, and then try to put a ladder of your own, put a strategy, and earn all the skills, all the knowledge, all the things, including certification required, etc., to climb your ladder on your own. That is what Hema emphasized. So I'm just trying to do a sigma of what the panelists spoke before. Ramesh gave a complete picture of what is this new train which is coming into your station, the SMAC, and how you have to be prepared for that. And Hema said how exactly you need to be aligned in terms of your thing. And the best mantra that she gave you is you are responsible. You can't blame your dad after you passed 4 years of engineering and said, actually I wanted to join a guitar team, but my dad told me to do engineering. You are responsible for that. Okay. Then the last part, what John said, the important part, the bottom of the pyramid he emphasized. So you have to keep that in mind. So with that, I just conclude and open up the entire thing for the moderator to plan the next agenda. Be whatever, be a human being. The best thing is, if all good thing has to come to you automatically, the simple mantra is be a simple, humble, learning, ever learning with a right attitude person. Naturally, good things will happen to you for your surprise. All the best.
Thank you very much, Mr. Satish. I would like to take this discussion to the next level. Now, in my understanding, I feel that there is a shortage of Narayan Murthis in the country. Now, do we have an entrepreneurial climate, or if we have to develop an entrepreneurial climate? Say, for example, 5 of my students want to start up a new firm. What will be the advice that you will be giving it to them? Yes, sir, I'll start from you.
Let me give my personal views on that first. The entrepreneurial bug is a nice bug to have. It's a nice thing to feel, but you have to be absolutely ready to face the rough climate. In our startup, I had to take a lot of beatings on my personal front, but I took it. So it's just not that today I'm very good in coding, I have a new idea, so I will jump into the ocean and put up a .com in my name. There are a lot of things beyond that. It's like a grapevine, okay? So it takes time, absolutely it takes time, and it takes multi-dimensional skills, like crisis management. You go to the VC and do a presentation, and then one of the VCs said, "Hey man, what's your age?" I was shocked by the question that he asked, because I gave a technical presentation for about 30 minutes. And then he said, none of my hair stood from what the idea that you explained. Then I had to completely change and then actually tell him, how I'm going to approach it, how I'm going to implement it, how I'm going to mitigate the risks that would come in, and what would be my fair exit of this startup. So then he appreciated, saying, okay, you are now prepared. So crisis management, and it's just not your idea or your skill. I am sure everybody here, not only the 5 students, everybody here has the potential to become Narayana Murthis, and even beyond that. I am highly confident. But it is up to that individual to harn himself, to focus himself and go there. I keep telling my people that everything is not luck. Luck is all about how you align your capability, your opportunity, and your priority. If all 3 are aligned, then you are lucky, correct? If it's not that, you must be aware that we send people abroad. You get an employee who will come and ask, sir, I want to go on site. Okay, fine, where you want to go? No, I want to go on site. Where you want to go? Switzerland? No, there is no project. So the thing is, if a person has that capability, let's say a project manager comes, and Uganda, MTN is our client. So Uganda, there is a requirement for a project manager, and he is capable of doing that. And at this point of time, his priority in life is to gain international exposure, and he gets an opportunity. He says yes in 2 minutes. So there was a guy who was waiting for opportunity for on-site for last 1.5 years. And when I approached him back, look, there is a project in UK. You wanted to take a Windows Active Directory a technical role. So you want to take it. So he was capable. Capability was there. And there was opportunity presented to him. He said, sir, I think may not be now. My parents are asking me to get married. He said, no problem, all the best. So you have to align all the three things in your life. And then have everything. Idea, the uniqueness of idea is the important thing. Second, the width and the depth of what you want to do. Third, the Mahalakshmi Krupa Kataksham. All that if it is there, you can be an entrepreneur. Also, During that journey, please be fully prepared to completely change the course of direction. That's what we call it as agility in startups. So you may want to do a product, but ultimately you may end up being a services company. Be prepared for it. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
I think yeah, I think what Satish said was pretty important for entrepreneurs. I want to give my take on entrepreneurship. Right, there are 2-3 things that comes to my mind when it comes to entrepreneurship. First, I would say is a little bit of a never say die attitude. When it comes to entrepreneurship, you are the master of where you want to take your enterprise. And in an Indian context, being an entrepreneur is not easy. We are not very business friendly. So the ability to just not take no for an answer, a never say die spirit that, if you are not able to make headway in one direction, change direction and go to the other way instead of just keep banging your head against that. Find out multiple ways of getting there. So some of India's jewels in the IT industry are all people who can find alternate paths to reach the goal, not one path to reach the goal. So that's from an inherent lack of resources, our inherent willingness to try out new things and not taking no for an answer. So I would say a never say die attitude would be something which you may want to cultivate. And people who are fortunate to come from families where you have history of entrepreneurships, history of trading and business, you will find that in their blood. The second thing which I think in entrepreneurship is the passion to do something, and it's related to the first point. I've seen a number of youngsters who want to do it with all very good intentions, but they run out of steam after some time. Run out of steam due to many reasons. One, it's just these hundreds of obstacles wears you down. Number two, what you're setting out to achieve is not something you have deep faith and deep belief in. You're doing it just to look good with your friends and with others, right? So if that's what is guiding you, you will run out of steam very quickly, and then it becomes so passion is something that you deeply believe in and you're deeply committed to it. Even a Narayan Murthy had to bet his last pie before he turned successful, right? He couldn't pay his people. He had to take his last pie, last bit of saving and put it on the table and be willing to, play that game. So, not easy, but if you go the whole hog. Finally, I think entrepreneurship is also about being a complete individual. Satish talked about it, right? It's a multidimensional skill. It's not just about being a top-class Java developer. You can still be good entrepreneurs, like, you have a Facebook guy, you have a Microsoft, Bill Gates. There are some specific examples where despite their despite their limitations, they're still able to make it big, but you take for majority of us, right? You need to have multidimensional skills. So you need to be good at thinking through. You should have a vision for your enterprise. You should be good at your product. So as MBA graduates, we understand value creation. You must be able to think through the value chain of your product, right from concept stage to design, development, product manufacture, servicing the client. What does it make sense? That's the second part. And finally, your ability to see through all aspects of finance. I mean, many people think accounting and finances, I can employ someone. If you don't understand finance, you can't run your business. So having multidimensional skills, and of course, the other aspects of having the right attitude, perseverance, innovation, all these comes to bear. And that's why an entrepreneur is like a power-packed dynamo. And I've found entrepreneurs having those never say die attitude, an ability to have a passion, really true commitment to what they are achieving, and finally looking beyond the obvious and having multidimensional skills, you will find successful entrepreneurs more who have some of these qualities. That's my observation.
Thank you, sir. Chuman.
They have covered, both Satish and Ramesh have already covered most of it. Just as an example, we all know Nokia, and now we know Samsung more, right? So being an entrepreneur is good, and even if you're successful, which is good, because 2 years definitely it takes for you to go through all the ups and downs, and to get to that stage where you're confident to run your own business. Now, what is again more important is for you to keep running. Though you're in the race, nobody is chasing you, or probably they're quite far, but you need to keep running. The moment you kind of halt, feel good about, fantastic, pat on your back and stay where you are, you will soon have people going far ahead. That's happened with Nokia. And if you look at it, IBACO, if you guys have heard about the ice cream parlors which is coming, which is nothing but Arun ice creams, right? So think differently, and you cannot think what is different for today, because by the time you launch your stuff, it's going to take some time. Within that couple of years, are you still going to be the one who's being different? So entrepreneurship definitely needs a lot of forethinking and perseverance to run the race continuously. If you halt, you will become history.
Yes.
Simple, folks. You need to have passion. Think about what you want to do and what you're going to be love doing, and that's going to be helping you succeed in whatever you want to do. Okay? And as everybody said, perseverance, patience is absolutely required. I mean, think of an egg. It takes its own time to become alive. I mean, if you're in a hurry, you try to squash it, you're going to destroy it. So you got to wait, okay? So you need to have the perseverance, you need to have the patience, and you should also remember that you should forever be learning. You should always be reinventing yourself. Like, you should have short-term goals and long-term goals. Like, for example, you should get in the habit of at least, if not daily, at least end of the week, what have you done for the past week? Have you done something different? Have you learned something different? Have you contributed something different? Okay? That's how you need to look at things. Okay? The moment, as she said, the moment you feel that you've been there, done that, and you start patting your back, and you're going to be trespassed, right? So you need to always remember that there's never-ending need for you to innovate yourself. And there's always scope for improvement. What you are doing today, what process you are going to be following today, is not going to be in vogue tomorrow. It's going to become obsolete. So you need to be always thinking of reinventing yourself, reinventing your company's policies or products, what value addition that you can offer to the customers. If you can think in these lines, and plus the expert advice that you got from our other panelists, I'm sure you should be able to hit the success button.
Thank you, sir.
Just on a lighter note, I'm sure all of you would have heard this, right? So I always relate this to business. So when you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to bear it in mind. To deliver a kid or a child, it takes 9 months. Now you can't put 9 women and deliver it in 1 month. So things take time. So that's most important for our understanding when we're trying to enter into entrepreneurship.
Thanks for that. Now, a very, very specific question to you, sir. Now, from 2001, if I've been observing it, in 2003 we had a dip, then in 2008 again we had a dip. Now, are we completely dependent on the West for the IT services, and when are we going to move out of this phase of being dependent on the West and where we can create value for ourselves.
And specific reference to IT industry.
Yeah, specific reference to IT.
Yeah, unfortunately, you have to be dependent where the money is in this economic world. Till such time, the wealth creation and where the money is, and we talked about GDP. When GDP moves, when 60% of world's GDP today, which remains in the Western world, moves to the BRIC economies, you will see that power shift happening. When India powers ahead and India's domestic market is able to contribute, we are less than, 1% of the GDP, 1 or 2% of world's GDP. When you move that needle and get close to 15, 16% of world's GDP, you will be dependent on your local players. You take each of these the IT majors out here, right, who are here. Over 99% of the business, the revenues for these companies are from outside India. Why is that? It's because that's where the money is, that's where the revenues are coming, and that's where it's, you can make money. So the more we are able to make money out of the Indian domestic business, and the share of the pie, the demand and sophistication and many other things begin to improve, we will see that gradual shift. And it's beginning to happen, but it's taking its time. In terms of scale, it's still much, much lower. But at the bottom of it is wealth creation.
So, so in the next 10 years, where do you see this industry moving forward?
I think IT industry, we will chug along. There are very few industries who are growing at 8 to 12% per annum. It will grow. But I think the Indian IT industry is a fantastic conundrum. The way the business model is set up is very good. Because if the world economy, when the economic activities around the world begins to pick up and the world GDP expands, there's a lot of discretionary spend in IT. There's a lot of things that business now creates IT-led work. And so there is more IT spend that comes in. And secondly, when there's cost cutting and you need to cut down costs, still the Indian IT industry benefits because cost from somewhere else in the world begins to flow into India. And then our ability to provide goods and services, especially services at the cost point that I talked about, right? $45 an hour, blended onshore plus offshore, so that's why it's a recession-proof business model in some sense. You continue to grow. However, there will be a phase, as Satish nicely pointed out, the optimization is where at some point it will no longer be a cost play. That's 10, 15 years, 10, 12 years away. And so there's an urgent need for us to get into our value play very quickly. So if you look at NASSCOM, it's talking about how do we get to a non-linear growth? How do we get to IP-based business models? How can we start delivering higher value services with the same headcount? So the revenue, how can we break the revenue headcount linearity? So these are things that the IT leaders are really grappling with. And I believe, and this is my strong belief, and this is where youngsters and the MBAs of the world can actually make a difference. SMAC Technologies for the first time is disintermediating the way businesses are done in every industry. I'll give you a simple example in insurance, right? For many, many years, insurance underwriting used to be done in the back office by blue collar, 30 years experience underwriters. So you fill up the form, give everything, and then it goes through a series of checks and gets to the back office where this tremendous underwriter with files will go through all of it and make up his mind on how much to rate, put clauses, conditions, do risk inspections of your factory and all those things, and then he will come up with a rate, and then he'll give you a list of 15 things to follow before he can issue a policy to you. But SMAC Technologies can disintermediate that and start getting some of this real-time analytics decision making at the point of sale. Many times you don't need to ask the customer. You can do crowdsourcing and get some of these ideas which are publicly available. some of the decision making, yield management, analytics-based decision making, getting information from using big data can get insurance companies to make decisions to issue the policy at the point of sale, and you really don't need to wait for some of these long-held events and cost structure which is currently built into the way insurance companies work out. Now, it takes fresh minds like you to disintermediate, and long-held beliefs of highly trained insurance professionals will find it difficult to get out of that thought process. For the first time, SMAC technologies can dramatically change how things get done. And that's why I believe, SMAC technologies have a very dramatic disruptive capability. And we'll see some of those things happening very quickly.
Right. Thank you, sir. So, over to Mr. Satish. Now, as you head the talent acquisition team there.
Talent transformation.
Talent transformation. So, what are your biggest challenges that you have faced in the last 3 years, especially with respect to 0 to 3 years of experience?
Not to motivate the people here, biggest challenge is certain influences which the current generation is going through. First and foremost, people don't meet people. There is Facebook, there is LinkedIn, there is Gmail, there is Yahoo, there is 2 mobiles, there are 200 channels. But an individual forgets that if I meet up with another person, he is everything for me. So, when the interpersonal skills don't get calibrated, unless I come to know what am I in front of him, I don't try to pick up that. So, the people talking to people has to increase for the purpose of sharing knowledge. That is when the experiences get shared. And then the people become more inquisitive, saying, oh, I don't know this, I want to do this. So that inquisitiveness is the stepping stone for learning. You can't get every answer in Google, that you have to remember. You can go put an exclamation or a different kind of a mark on Facebook, but of that, how much has come from your heart, how much of that has come from your head is a question that only an individual has to answer. But when you meet eyes, when you meet heart, you speak out what you want, you get the human part of it, and there is tremendous learning in that. So that's my first challenge. The second challenge, for whatever reasons today, the families are being laid out, right? So every house is probably a nucleus family, and every couple has to run behind 4 wheels, 4 walls, EMIs. So obviously, probably the kids don't get that attention what they should get. That is probably creating and showing up a big time in terms of ownership. So people should learn to own the tasks that has been assigned to them. So that lack of ownership, if they don't demonstrate in the first 3 years, they are heading for a disaster. The supervisors, the industry is very busy. We are under tremendous pressure because of optimization. There is no supervisor who will come and sit next to you and ask you, did you have breakfast? Do you want something? Do you want me to coach on something? Please don't expect that. Crying baby gets its food. So you have to stand up and then ask, boss, I have been asked to do this task. I don't know how to do this. I have explored A, B, C, D. Am I in the right direction, or what should I do? So if you come up 2-3 times, the supervisor does recognize you saying, okay, you are moving in the right direction, or he will suggest a course correction for you. But if you don't own it, you don't put your heart into it, you will not speak about it. When you don't speak about it, your supervisor will not speak about you. So you become a different category in the industry. So one is the ownership part, and the second is the self-learning is not there. So you train me, I will do it. You don't train me, I will not do it. I'm sure none of us here got trained in everything that we are working today. So that ownership of, exactly that's what Hema said. So I'm responsible. If I don't do this, what is that I have done to address that gap has to be there. That's the biggest challenge. I may be wrong. I request other panelists to comment.
Any comments on that?
I mean, I completely agree with what Satish has told. I mean, I don't think there's anything else that I can add. I completely endorse his views. If you look at anything, I mean, finally, it boils down to attitude. I mean, you might have the best of skills, but as he said, if you don't have that personal touch, and if you're not able to relate with people, the whole thing goes for a toss. And you might have the best of technologies, you might have the best of 100% proof processors, but the people who are going to be monitoring it, the people who are going to be making it happen, I mean, the facilitators are you and us, you and we. Okay, so if we can remember that, I think we should be able to be successful.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I wanted to share a couple of thoughts on this, right? To be on the positive side, I see this generation of youngsters who come through the door extremely savvy when it comes to technologies. Okay, so they are not intimidated by technology. I can tell you that much. When we entered the technology world, we were more worried about absorption rather than playing around and exploration. So I find this youngsters absolutely willing. However, there is one area which concerns me and baffles me, is given the amount of exposure to the global business, exposure to internet, TV channels giving you views of the world, we have almost every aspect of business thrown open to you. The amount of questions that it should generate and the ability to articulate them seems to be receding. And that's, I don't know, coming back to your point on whether the human element of willing to ask questions and getting it clarified is something, whether the social interaction index is sort of going down. I would say pay attention to that. And to the faculty here, I would encourage you to get your people to actually ask questions. Doesn't mind if it is stupid. Initially, you need to ask 100 stupid questions to start graduating into more intelligent questions. I see even in more experienced crowds, people struggle to ask questions. Is it that there are no CPU working inside, or they're just absorbing what is being told, or they're just plain shy? I would strongly recommend a lot of interaction between them, and out of that comes, I mean, in Accenture we have a thing that everyone has to have a point of view to become a leader. That means they push you hard to have a point of view. Whether the point of view is right or wrong is secondary. That doesn't matter. But you need to have a point of view. When you have a point of view, you're forced to think through the pros and cons, and you will be challenged in your journey. And that will force you to course correct and get there. But not having a point of view and sitting back and listening, in a passive way, gets back to what one of our panelists said, that, after some time you realize you've grown in the organization because of hard work, and then you just are not equipped to take on anything more. Your scalability begins to sort of throttle at that pace. So I think you guys are in a fantastic position because quality of education is improved, exposure to various things that is happening around the world has increased, affordability, sheer economic affordability, for you to get into this management schools has increased, and we are just at the cusp of fantastic economic growth, unprecedented economic growth, for you to make a mark. I think you just need to make it happen. There is some amount of conventional wisdom, and there are some elements of work ethics that I stand for these, and no matter what comes, I'm not going to let go of certain work ethics that I stand for. And those 0 to 3 years will build a foundation for you going forward.
Thank you, sir.
Just a quick thing to add from my end. What I learned when I was in this 0 to 3 years, I'm pretty sales-related person, or give me a target and I want to achieve it. So come what may, right? I mean, you want the best talent, I have to get it from the market. Now, what happened in this course when I started stepping into corporate? One of my mentors told me, Hema, you know what? Attend to perceptions as well while you do this. How you're perceived is also important. That again ties back to what Satish mentioned about that human connection. I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm chasing. Now, how my peers, my counterparts, my customer will perceive certain things is something that I need to bear in mind while I'm trying to do this, because people start looking at you in certain way. When you know for sure that something is going wrong, please get in touch with people, correct it. Do the course correction. And perceptions have to be attended. You cannot say that, I don't care how he perceives, right? I'm successful. It matters for a long run. So that was the learning for me in the 0 to 3 years, because as I'm very aggressive and target oriented, somebody made me stop and said, you know what, there is a thin line between your aggression and arrogance. So that was a great learning, I would say, because I still bear it in mind. It really matters for me, whatever I'm doing. How is that the other person is perceiving me? What I'm trying to communicate, what I am, is what the person is looking into me as. So that is important in 0 to 3 years, because the moment you build in a perception which is not right, which is not you, however successful you are, the moment you cross certain lines, it's going to be difficult, because you're going to connect and work with people. It can be computer technology which is ruling or whatever. Human connections still work. It's all the people who are running it. So that's very key for us to understand, and it's important is what I feel. Just wanted to share that thought with you.
Thank you. Now, let me put it across to both of you, since you are into direct recruitment. Can you give me a few points, few common mistakes that these people do on the basis you will reject them?
Live example is somebody who cleared, at least 8 rounds of interview, technical. When it went for an approval, it came back saying that the resume has spell errors, and I was shocked. I was like, okay, gosh, I never thought a person with that experience could have something like that in the resume. So, that is at the, this is just an example which happened, right? So the offer just got rejected. The person is technically savvy, fantastic person, but it starts with everything, right? Everything is looked upon in an interview. How serious are you about your job? You can't, so when, again, when you become an expert in certain domain, we appreciate that. Of course, companies want to hire great talent, but do you really need the job? Are you motivated to stick around? Are you going to stay with us? It shows right from the time you pass over your profile till the time you complete the discussions with us. So every point you've been noted. So that was an example even made us, because we being in talent acquisition, we understand junior profiles to check for spell errors and grammatical errors. We didn't expect that at senior guys. So it's very important for you to take it seriously. If you're looking for a change, you better be serious about it. If you're not looking for a change, get the communication across. So you cannot be on the wall. So that is important, is what I felt, because when I interview, I look for what the person is going to bring into this company, because the person has to add value. It all again tails back to your passion, whether it's all connected, the job role, what we are offering. So everything has to fall in place. It's not just one aspect of it. The silliest one was this, which was an eye-opener for us. So we started doing spell checks.
we are all, have a fancy for smartphones. What would you do if you want to buy a smartphone? You're not going to just buy just because your friend has got, will you? You won't. The friend might talk many things about the features, but still, you might want to buy the same one, or better still, you would like to buy something which will showcase yourself as one up than the others, right? So you're going to look at all the features. You're going to look at how compatible it is with other gadgets that you have, and you're going to look at fine prints, everything. So also, when it comes to recruitment, any organization would look at every damn thing in a person, okay? So like she said about spelling mistakes, yes, it makes a lot of difference. I mean, that shows how careless you are in portraying yourself, where you're taking giving the least importance to a document which is supposed to be very sacred because it's going to be talking about you. It's a marketing tool, right? In one of the organizations that I worked, it was just blossoming, and I was it was a one-man show managing operations from Bangalore, and this was during 98 onwards, when the H-1B visa was a craze, when every other software engineer wanted to go to the US, okay? Now, every CV that has been shortlisted, my MD, he used to go personally through the profile. Why? Because he wanted to establish a good presence with our client base in the US, okay? The moment there is a CV that goes from our entity, there should not be a rejection from the client side. So believe me, even I had to pinch myself when I got to know through one of my seniors as to what our MD was looking at is the font size, the type of fonts, the bullets that you use, okay, the kind of information that you plug in there, okay. As I told you earlier, there are people they get a little bit creative, okay. The creative buds come into force there. They use all kinds of bullets. They'll use all kinds of fonts, okay. They'll use all kinds of colors. So these are simple things, but then goes a long way, okay. So just realize that that you need to be a total package, and as she said, there are people who look at these aspects also. So having crossed 8 hurdles, the 9th hurdle, which you didn't even consider that as an hurdle, became a spoil sport. Okay? So don't take anything for granted.
Just to add on is, whatever you put in your profile, as I just mentioned during my presentation, it should be you. Just because your friend is writing something, don't write it in your profile. It might be fancy, but the person should know that, right? So it's important what is in your resume is something which is you. People do write a lot of things. When we question them around that, they don't have the basic understanding of it. It can be even your hobbies. You know, if you're mentioning something, you better be clear about what are you talking about. Do you really do it? It's very important to be, true to yourself when you're preparing your resume. It's not required, like a job role needs 10 set of skills, which is technical. It's not required for you to mention all the 10 skills because it's not expected. When we hire, we cannot hire a glove fit for all the job. What we hire is a talent who can deliver the job in the due course when inside the company. None of us would be a glove fit for our next job, right? It's all about you, so it's very important to stay true to your resume. Do not take a prototype, or do not take somebody else's resume, try to make it yours. That's not you, so obviously in the interview, you would fail. Because the person who's going to talk to you is going to talk to you all about what you have mentioned there. So this is very, you will come across this quite often, at least I come across this quite often in my interviews, and I ask, why did you even put this? Okay, that's all. They talk about Twitter, they talk about FB, they talk about LinkedIn, they talk about so many social sites. We just ask them, okay, so how many connections do you have in LinkedIn? You're talking about LinkedIn, what is LinkedIn? How many connections do you have? now they don't know what connections are, they don't know what and how it works. So do not mention, it's okay, right? It's okay to be true to yourself and say, I don't know, but you know what, I'm willing to learn that. So that's more important, because I've seen people who've gone back who said no, that I don't know LinkedIn, who've gone back and sent me a LinkedIn invite within 24 hours, creating the profile, which is pretty impressive. It is to say, okay, I didn't know this when you asked me, but I've gone back, I've tried learning what LinkedIn is, now I'm sending you an invite. So that gives a better feel than putting it on your profile to say, I don't know what it is.
Thank you. Now, to both of you, let me put it across in a different way. What would be the biggest qualities that you are looking at when you are recruiting?
Sounds funny answer, but very realistic. Try to be a true human being. You should listen to your heart, your concise, very truly and very deeply. I'm just trying to reiterate what Hema said. In my just previous talk, I just said everybody is unique. So it's better you say, this is what I am, and this is what I can do, and this is what I can't do. There is a role for everybody on this earth. So you can't try to put a cook for a singing or for a singer for cooking. It's up to an individual to go choose the right kitchen or the right band to do his job. So there he has to perform. And yeah, that's exactly is my advice.
Yeah, for me it's a little bit difficult question to answer. Because I think to this group, I have not been interviewing youngsters now for some time. I've been only lateral hires or experienced people is whom I'm hiring. So I think we've got a genesis of what we were looking for, and nothing new strikes to my mind beyond that.
Right, sir. Now, a very specific question to you. As you were discussing with me, if the openings for the banking and insurance, especially in the service sector, if you can just elaborate to the crowd.
Sure. I think deep from the concept of IT, 15 years ago, if you want to join the IT industry, you just need to know Java skills, not Java skills, technical skills, right? You know COBOL, mainframe, PL, Power Builder. It's perfectly all right for you to just know that. But nowadays, there is this concept of what is your major competency and what is your minor competency. And if you ask any of people in the IT industry, they are now increasingly, they don't say I'm a Java developer, period. If they are saying that, then their future is question mark. So what does it mean? You need to be a Java developer who specializes in financial services. I am a .NET specialist who specializes in supply chain management. So you need to know a tool, but you need to know the industry you serve. And that's an important part. You need to choose a major and a minor. You could be a business analyst, but you cannot just analyze the business without knowing the underlying technology and how those technologies being applied. So concept of major and minor comes in, and this is a very core concept of how you need to do. So if you enter the IT industry as management graduates, please realize that you need to be good at something. Pick an industry. Increasingly, all IT companies are moving towards specializing in an industry. So especially for banking and finance, people who are specializing in banking, insurance, and finance, I've already given my piece of advice to your administrators on what they need to do to take the thing to the next level and establish a multi-year plan so that your students can become some of the best in the business. And I'm sure your administrators will do that. But as students, what could you do? Please build your knowledge of the industry very well. Build your certification. So if you're doing banking, please make sure that you do a certificate diploma in banking. It used to be JAIB and CAIB. for the from the Indian Institute of Bankers, and if you're doing insurance, from the Indian Insurance Institute, there is licentiate, associate, and fellowship training. So do that early in your career, and don't think that I will do this after my MBA or after I join a job. No, do that even when you were doing your MBA. It gives you some fantastic perspectives, and it increases your chances of employability. Goes back to a lot of questions that the panelists said that, right? So when you are an MBA and you have chosen insurance as the thing, you demonstrate that on your own, you have studied insurance, you have supplemented things that have been taught to you, and you've got an industry certification from an industry body that the industry recognizes. It's a very powerful signal you're giving to the other guy. And you know what? Don't stop at this is what I have passed. This is the next thing I'm aiming. And you know, with a little bit of support from the organization, I want to be the best in the business. Show that attitude and things like that. You will be picked up in no time. And that, I would say, as if you, there are plenty of MBAs all over the place. For us, the problem of plenty is there. We want to choose the right one who has the technical skill and wanting to do that. And it comes out, the thing oozes out, and experienced HR professionals will just quickly shift people when they see. Within minutes, within the first 60 seconds, they decide which candidate to pick. So that would be my piece of advice for banking and insurance.
Thank you, sir. Now, this is something for us, as faculties and administrators, that I want to pose a general question. Now, we have thousands and thousands of engineers coming out of this country, they're churning out like products, and we also have the MBAs and other preschools churning out a lot of products. So, what advice, as an IT industry personnel, would you give it to us to ensure that these people are employable enough in the near future?
Very tough question, but some views based on my experience. I think all of us should accept that there is a gap between the industry and the academy. There is a gap, but there are efforts like now ISBR is putting. This event itself is an example for bridging that gap. Okay, there are many efforts which are put in multiple directions to bridge the gap. There are certain programs from some corporates. If you take Cisco has a networking academy which is run for campuses. EMC has an academy which is run in the campus. And Wipro has a program called the Mission 10X to educate the gurus in the campus. There are many initiatives by several corporates from the IT industry to reduce this gap as less as possible. While this is there, to answer the specific part in your question, it would be prudent for the academy to work very closely with the industry and then frame the syllabus. Right? I can give you an example. In your syllabus, let's say if it's a technical institution, they can probably put in more of cloud virtualization. If it's a non-technical institution, they can actually put in more content from the SMAC, what he actually described. So that would bring in a relevance to the industry, and it would help the industry to pick the people who are more relevant for the roles. That's what I feel.
Yeah. So just to add on, from a B school, management graduates understand this. Brand yourself. The brand of your school must talk. It's got a calling. Brand yourself. Identify a multi-year path to get to tier 1 fast. So, as corporates, we are woefully short of time. Woefully short of time. I frankly don't have the time to spend with my family most of the time. Because work takes a substantial amount of demands on our time, right? So our attention span on issues, we like pre-sifted, pre-configured, pre-packaged content come to us for us to make decisions. So if your syllabus, your connects with the industry, your branding, and some of these things can facilitate that, you've won 50% of the battle. The other part is now with the students. When you create a brand, as students, you need to be brand ambassadors. You must live the brand. There is no point in having a brand for the school, but your students do not exemplify the brand. So when you go out, when you are interacting with industry, when you are dealing with industry, it should come out, it should jump out. Those brand characteristics must jump out. ISBR students are fantastic in these 3-4 areas. And every interaction you have with industry or with people, etc., you must be able to exemplify that brand. You put 2 and 2 together, you have a very powerful mechanism to be successful in the marketplace. Does it make sense?
To add on, I think we did talk about it, panel spoke about it, is maybe the, the college should kind of, the institute should kind of build in questioning ability, or it's actually the individual. At least we don't, we should bring up people who are who have inhibition in questions, like, they don't question quite often. And they feel it's a stupid question, maybe, I should ask, or I will look like a stupid in front of the class. So that should somehow be kind of encouraged to say, it's okay, right? I mean, it's okay to ask questions to clarify. So that ability is something that you can help them build, and do more of activity which allows them to think, not just the curriculum. So it's not about getting 85%, 90% in your curriculum, great. But most of the institutes are, I mean, as he mentioned, a lot of people passing out. Your batch would have maybe, hundreds and thousands of people coming out. So what additional do you have? Because it's going to be syllabus if it's driven through the university. What additional do you have? So that is something maybe, the institute should look at. As individuals, we spoke about your resume yourself. What I kind of missed out is when you're talking to Oracle, I expect you to know what Oracle is all about. You're coming to us, you're interviewing with Oracle. Now do your basic research. It's there all over the net. You understand what an Oracle, or what Oracle is, or Accenture is, Wipro is. You better know that before you're talking to somebody. So that is also expected. I don't know how institute could facilitate this, but that is again something which we should drive and make sure the students are kind of up to speed. So they should be prepared about the company as well. You may not know to an extent of the financial results, it's fine, but at least to an extent of whether it's a product company, it's a services company, what kind of products they are into, are they leading in the magic quadrant? So those are few aspects you can read. So that's from my end.
I think Ramesh nailed right bang on the head about branding. I think ISBR is an institution that you should be proud of, and you should live it. Okay? If I quote my own example, like, I'm a Josephite. Even today, I feel so proud. And even today, I capitalize on that. There are plenty of the series of interviews that I've gone through, or the kind of people that I've met. Whenever there is a talk on the institution that I came from, the moment I utter the word St. Joseph's, their eyebrows go up. Okay? The way they look at you sort of changes. They give a little bit of more respect. And they feel that, okay, he's got some stuff. It's predetermined. Like that, ISBR has got its own name. I think you need to make it much more brighter by living it. Like as Ramesh said, I mean, you are the brand ambassador for yourself, for your family, for the institution that you're going to be coming out from. and future, the corporate that you're going to be associated with, and you're a world citizen. I mean, if you can remember this, I think it will take you a long way. Like, for example, in India, we say, it happens only in India. What do? I mean, we crib about the government, we crib about every damn thing, okay? But if you look at it in a very, very calm manner, I mean, I don't think we are short of infrastructure. I don't think we are short of facilities. I mean, yes, there are a lot of potholes, a lot of craters, but I guess if you can just be a little bit disciplined, I think we can overcome a lot of tensions that we go through in our day-to-day lives, okay? We don't behave ourselves out here, but the moment we step into a foreign land, foreign soil, we become the most disciplined creature in the world. Why is that? Okay? That's when you remember that you are an ambassador for yourself? No, you should be everywhere. Like in one of the organizations that I work, in the urinals, okay, there's a sticker put on top. Pardon me if I sound a little crude, but I just want to give it a tinge of humor into it. Like they've said, can you aim perfect? Because if you drop something down, there's going to be another human being like you and me who's going to be wiping it. Does somebody have to tell you this? I don't think so. We're all mature people. We're all so-called intellectuals. I think we need to live that. Okay? So, as I would like to re-emphasize, because I find it very hard-hitting what Ramesh said. It's bang on the head of the nail. We should all remember that we are brand ambassadors. And another thing, I mean, what your professor had put across is what are the challenges, how the institutions like yours can meet the demands of the industry. I mean, it's an evolving industry. I mean, you can never have a situation where you plug and play. You have a product from the institution and then you give it to an organization. You can have a plug and play scenario. No, it's not going to happen. I mean, the way technology is growing, the way the things are, the needs are changing, it's so dynamic. What you feel today is fashionable. Tomorrow you will never look at it. So you need to be always evolving. You need to be always, be enterprising. You need to always reinvent yourself, okay? And you need to think out of the box. Like, for example, I just saw a clipping, I believe in an interview, a glass of water, half-filled glass of water was kept on the table in front of the candidate, and the interviewer asked him, what do you see here? Okay, normally time and again what we've heard is the person who's saying the glass is just half empty is a pessimist, okay? The person who says, okay, there is water in the glass, even though it is half, it's okay, is an optimist. But I believe the candidate, what he did, he just gulped it. And he said, I'm a problem solver. Okay, I think you need to think out of the box. Okay, so you need to always reinvent yourself. Today, you are in the 3rd semester or 4th semester, you're going to step out of the college. Don't think that you're going to be fit and fine to get into a corporate life. By the time you put your CVs across, things would have changed like crazy. So if you don't keep your eyes and ears open, you're lost. Okay? Be adaptable. Be ready to roll up your sleeves, dirty your hands. Okay? I think that should be the mantra. That should be the way that you need to think for yourself and for your surroundings.
Thank you, sir.
After John spoke, I remembered one thing, right? Learn to value what you currently have. I think ISBR is a great institution pursuing. I know Dr. Manasa for many years, for 10 years plus, 10, 15 years plus. And I've seen her accomplishments, her tenacity, her journey on how she has come up and the sort of things that she's done and her thought and her vision on what she wants to drive. You really need to value some of these things and pester her to give her best to the institution. I met Professor Kanakadasan, and he's also from a fellow traveler from the insurance industry where I used to be, so I have a certain degree of affinity, I guess. But I think they all exemplify certain characteristics which many a times I don't know as students whether we have the humility to actually look up. We have somehow reached the stage where we do not look up to some good things and take it for granted. Pester these people. I don't know Abbas very well with a few interaction. I'm sure they have, and Dr. Kannappan, Mr. Kannappan, right? Ayyappan, sorry, from State Bank of India, many years of work. I mean, all these guys come with a certain degree of accomplishments, otherwise they wouldn't have reached that level. If you are able to utilize their thinking, challenge them, give the stimulus response and pick up some of these threads from what we have and take it to the next level, you will be better served. I would just say you've got a fantastic institution, willingness to look forward, a willingness to tap us out of our, our schedules and giving you an opportunity to interact with us. So each one of this is valuable. So make best use of it. I just thought I'll share that with you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Now, since we are running out of time, final questions from the audience. So you can definitely ask questions. Asking questions is the most easiest thing. Only to answer it, it's a difficult.
What is the career growth for the marketing people? Because as we know that in the IT industry, that no marketing people have been taken for the recruited. But because they need with the IT skills and the technical skills. But I am from commerce background. The people don't take the marketing people.
We do hire marketing folks. You don't have to be a developer to sell a product, but you need to know a product. If you're selling Benz, you better know what Benz has plus and minus. So, it's not that we hire, any person who's selling the best automobile doesn't come from that industry. They learn the product. What is important is the right attitude, and of course, marketing needs few aspects, which is, you need to be a person who's target driven. You know what you're, and you should have a great networking skills. So these are aspects which they look at. We don't look for somebody, because every company is different. What Cisco sells is not what Oracle sells. Now, if I'm hiring a person who comes with a Cisco selling background, definitely he needs to ramp up to what Oracle is selling. Right, so it's not about the background. Marketing is definitely the happening thing, I would say, because end of the day, the entire life cycle which is going behind, be it service or product, we need somebody to face the customer to sell it. So it's definitely about certain marketing skills that you need, and it's not about you being a developer to do any kind of selling in this.
This question is definitely to Mr. John. You were talking about behavioral skills, the importance of attitude and all that. I would rather say that today's generation is so good in creating a hypocritical image in front of an interview board, saying that yes, I have a very good attitude, I'm open for challenging projects, I'm agile, flexible, etc. The moment you are on the floor, they tend to show their true colors. I mean, do you have any psychometric tools to assess? In fact, I would say even the psychometric tools are also considered to be a farce item today. In such case, if you end up identifying such kind of candidates, what do you do?
Actually, it's a very good question, and very, very relevant to the current situation that we are going through. And yes, there are a lot of psychometric tools. But it's an expensive affair. Not every company, only large entities will go for the psychometric test. But then without the psychometric test, it's the human element comes into the picture, like how you can gauge a person. Yes, I mean, the way the person portrays, the way the person talks, you will be in a position to figure out whether the person is actually talking, being very honest. I think it's only based on experience. Like, for example, I can recollect an experience. We had gone to Delhi and we were interviewing some candidates, and this guy's profile was excellent. I mean, whatever we wanted, it was like tailor-made for the project. And now he came and sat in front of me, and he started talking in Hindi. And I said, excuse me. And he continued, Mera naam hai so and so, and then I studied from so and so college, 5 saal ka experience hai, blah 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 blah. And I cut him short. Maaf karna bhai sahab, mere ko Hindi nahi aata, English mein baat karenge. I spoke in Hindi. Now I have a lot of respect for Hindi. I love that language, but you are coming for an interview, and the medium of instruction out there is English. So you need to maintain that decorum, okay? So these are small things, but over a period of time, I mean, there's no hard and fast rule, but I guess over a period of time, you'll come up with your own methodology as to how you can identify a person to be genuine or not, whether that person will fit your organization or not. I mean, every company has its own culture, has its own approach. Like for example, CGI, I mean, this is one company that I've come across where I'm sure it will be the same, the other companies like Wipro and Oracle and Accenture, but I've not had the experience of working those companies. Probably in the future I might have. But I was surprised when I stepped into CGI that there were a lot of ladies, okay? So gender diversification was taken care of. I could meet a lot of Kannadigas because I've worked in other companies like Mahindra Satyam, Logica, CNG and Ashok Leyland and all. There were not many Kannadigas out there. You used to find people from Kerala or Andhra Pradesh or the north. But this company, there were a lot of Kannadigas. And there were a lot of Telugus, there were a lot of Malayalam. It was all balanced. Yeah? So each company has its own way of looking at things. Okay? So I guess every company has its own approach, and individual also has her or his own approach to gauge a person's suitability for the organization. I hope I answered your question.
If I can add a bit to it. We are also evolving. So in talent acquisitions, I mean, years back it used to be HR, human resources, and there were no specialization as such. I mean, a company will have HRs. Now we have business HR, we have OTD, we have talent acquisition. We are specializing, so we are evolving. So if you look at it, the exact question that you asked in terms of, people are saying yes to everything that you're asking. We gauge that. So our questions are not direct. And our recruiters, we have an internal recruiting team, by the way. So our recruiters are trained. So we are also undergoing training in different, Barry Shamers is one of the famous guys who's into selecting winners. So these are different things that teach us how to gauge an individual. So it's not about saying yes to all the questions, because end of the day, we also try and find out whether that yes is true or not. We still make mistakes for which we are still getting trained. But the mistakes have come down quite a bit, I would say. With these years of experience, I've seen that the mistakes that we make in hiring has come down. So it's not about you getting trained to understand what the questions would be, but it's better that you train yourself.
I just wanted to share, this is a fantastic question. So the IT industry is grappling with it. Again, as I said, we take a lot of people, huge numbers, and there is an automatic deselection that happens. All companies rate people. There is a curve that is fitted, top 10, bottom 10, and there are actions that happen for managed exits. So that takes care of some of the wrong hiring. But I think HR has actually specialized. There are many tools. In fact, the forms, the application forms, the hiring, the screening, multiple processes cuts down some of the psychometric things are brought into bear for entry-level hiring. And if a few bad apples get in, doesn't make too much of a thing. And there are other processes once you come in to shape up or ship out. But I think psychometric tests are very important for senior levels and targeted roles where we do take help of certain specialized HR functions and talent search organizations which help us do that. But as a trivia, I wanted to let you know that there are certain countries like France where handwriting analysis is a formal part of selection. We don't do that in India, but there are certain such tests which we should go. But for specialized positions, even for internal succession planning, there are certain people who go through a battery of management tests. I was put through certain tests to make sure whether I'm fit for certain levels of responsibility. So it's administered for in select cases.
Yes, next question.
Good afternoon, sir. It's an honor to be your presence on our platform. Sir, as you mentioned that we have to do some certifications if it is finance background. So what are the additional courses that IT sector is going to look forward, people who have BTech background and having finance as a specialization in the future?
If you permit, I'll take the question. First, let me tell you, getting certified is an illusion. Okay, it's like the cover page of a magazine. People will pick up that magazine once, twice by looking at the cover page. If there is no content in it, they would actually spread bad word on the magazine. While it is important to get certified, it is even more important to know the subject. So first and foremost, you have to undergo a formal training or a self-learning, whatever process it is, to know about it. The certification is only a chapa that gets put on your awareness. So don't get carried away simply by getting certified tag, but please put in efforts to get to know part of it. That's my first advice. The second part is if you are in finance and IT are very, very closely related. For many IT companies, majority of the profit comes from my neighbor, BFSI sector. So based on what role you want to play in that particular sector. For example, again in IT industry, there are 3 different subdivisions. There is an ADM, application development and maintenance. There is an infrastructure management services. Then there is a BPO service. So first you have to choose which main door that you want to enter. And after that, you have to decide which living room or bedroom that you want to settle down. If you enter the infrastructure door, there are multiple things. You can be a IT consultant, an IT architect for a BFSI vertical. What applications have to be designed, how it has to be designed, how do I size my server, how much memory should be there, etc., etc. So that's one role that you can do, for which there are ample relevant certifications available. If you want to go write an application for all banks on particular need, they might have lots of needs. So for that, there are many certifications available. So you need to become a developer and then understand that particular business need and get certified. The third is a BPO part. There again, you have a lot of relevant certifications. Other than these 3 areas, for you to understand the BFSI domain, there are many more certifications which is more relevant for the domain itself. It could be SOX 404, or it could be an ISO, or it could be something like that. So based on where you want to enter into the industry, what role that you want to play, there are a lot of certifications. You have to understand that knowledge and then get certified. If I missed anything.
Yeah, no, I think broadly it is there. However, I have a slight difference of emphasis on certifications because I think certifications gives a clue to your pedigree. I didn't get your name. Who's the one who asked your question?
Kusuma.
Kusuma. Okay. So Kusuma, I think you are right at the right spot. Because if you remember what I told you, 1 major and 1 minor You need dual specializations. You have successfully got into a stage where with your engineering BTech degree, you have an analytical strength, and with the business strength. If you can combine these two, you are an ideal candidate for IT industry. You need to build your specific, industry-specific skill. So please choose an industry that you are relevant. So I'll give you 3 specific advice where you can go forward, right? You pick an industry. So assume you pick banking. I would advise insurance. But assume you pick banking. Make sure you do, I assume that you know your technical skills, you do everything that Satish has suggested. But in banking, learn banking very, very well. If you have apprentice training, what do you call it, internship trainings, go to a bank, go to HDFC, go to ICICI Prudential, where they are cutting edge, and get attached to 1 or 2 good people who can teach you some aspects of banking. You will also get exposed to the IT core banking application that they have installed, and learn certain things about core banking applications and payment systems, etc. So understand the IT architecture there and the application. So be a little bit conversant with that. And then use your MBA knowledge to apply how the banking business is done, and understand how organization dynamics work, how span of management works, how customer interactions work, what is front office, what is middle office, what is back office, where is money being spent by the bank in building what systems, etc. Start connecting the dots. And with those 2 or 3 banking certifications and your rest of your other skills that you have, I think you are in a great position to take up multiple job offerings multiple opportunities for you in the IT industry. So all technical people, if you can combine technical with business, you're in a great position. Make sense?
Yeah, I just want to add, as you take this advice from Ramesh, just remember that it may not be one single shot certification. It could be a ladder by itself. It could be a series by itself. So remember, and as he rightly said, a perfect question that should come in your mind at this point of time, this point of age. So please plan it out. Target those series, month on month based on your pocket size, and then achieve that goal and become a 360-degree compliant for what you want to become in that role. Thanks.
So for my personal advice, I can tell you, after 10 years, for 10 years after my graduation, I studied and I worked for 10 years continuously till I reached a particular stage. It was all, and it has helped me tremendously. I have seen much more brighter colleagues of mine, much more talented people, many other people who were better than me in many other respects, but they couldn't keep up with me because apart from studying, I would also, apart from working, I would apply and grow. I would study those relevant subjects. So I did my commerce. I'm a commerce graduate. And I worked in a bank. I started my career in a bank. And for 10 long years since I started my job, I continuously studied. I did my cost accounting and management accounting. Then I worked in an insurance company. I did my fellowship in insurance right up to the highest level. And I did not stop at that. The first given opportunity, I jumped to IT. As part of my job, I started working in IT. So I implemented systems that was not good enough for me. I took a break and did my software engineering. And then I stayed in insurance and software, and then financial services and software. One of those lucky few who study and work in the domain that you have. And that has built deep specialization for me. So to your point, choose a path and become deep specialist. And there's enough space for us to work. 15 years ago, it was not cool to jump out of one domain and get into another domain, but today you need multiple domains. And all the very best.
People, since we are running out of time, one last and final question.
A very good afternoon to each one of you. My name is Pragati. Now, just before this panel discussion, we had a class, organizational development, where we came across the term techno-stress. That is, whenever a new technology is introduced, there are people who tend to have a negative psychology. So how do you handle such issues in the organization?
Pragati means progress. Corporates remain highly focused on what they want to do. They are least bothered about techno stress. And there will be, for everything good, there is a bad, like the way you have day and night. So there are means, there are levers for corporates to address the techno stress. As long as a corporate is highly focused on what they want to achieve, I think the rest becomes trivial. Okay. And techno stress can come for various reasons. So they will actually do a root cause analysis and figure out what is there. And at the same time, they would take a complete 360-degree view. Sometimes that negative notion may be a risk. Good. If you know in advance, we will mitigate that risk. So corporates will definitely listen to whatever negative or non-positive thing that would come up and take proactive steps and remain focused. So it's about complete thing called change management. I'm sure this also would have got discussed in your class. So it's about, are you a change catalyst or you are the guy who play the wrong fiddle in the organization? So there are mechanisms to handle such fiddles.
All right. It has been a real pleasure for me to be a moderator of this panel. Yeah, I'm thankful for all of you, for sparing your valuable time and effort to come to ISBR and share your views with my students. Thank you, and over to Ranjita now.
Thank you, sir. Now I'd like to request our director, Dr. Manasa, to give the vote of thanks.
Respected members on the panel, and my dear students. This was the words of wisdom from the Golden Chariot. So you can see all the members who are here, a part of the Golden Chariot, and who are really sailing through, and it continues. The IT sector in the near future, I'm sure that it continues to be in the growth stage and reaches, or it is in a stage of maturity, and it continues to be so in the coming years. So what words of wisdom, like it was straight from the heart from all the panel members, that you should persevere, or you have to look to many things. One is the passion. They spoke about passion. A number of personal qualities. They being in the industry, they have stretched themselves beyond their limits whenever possible in all difficult situations in their work. And now today they are here to tell the words of wisdom, like what really makes you or helps you to be in the IT sector and how you can progress in the IT sector. To tell to the panel members, ISBR has a very close connect with the industry, and for the last at least 6 weeks, continuously we are organizing these panel discussions. We had discussions in various sectors. One is the banking sector. We had members from the manufacturing sector. We had members from the hospitality sector. We had various members from retail, different retail chains, and then we had from real estate and construction. So we are covering almost all the sectors so that our students will get the best out of the wisdom from various sectors and various industries. And we are also planning for another program. You are talking about one-to-one relationship or learning from individuals. So we also have an industry mentoring program where we would like to tie up few of our students with industry mentors, and these students will work very closely with that of the industry mentors and try to learn how these industry mentors really work in the day-to-day activities of their work, how do they work, and what are the words of wisdom, what are the corporate mantras that these students will have to learn. So this is one of the programs that we are launching shortly. They'll be under both faculty mentoring for their academics as well as for their career. And we're also putting them on industry mentoring so that they will learn from the corporate sector. So this is another program. And we have many other industry-related programs. One is Industry Connect, and we have a number of seminars and guest lectures being organized on a continuous basis. That is, every faculty, every class, they have industry inputs being brought into the classroom. So now the responsibility, as you were saying, as Mr. John was saying, that you are responsible, or I think Satish was saying about this, you are responsible, and now we will not believe in a top-down approach, we always believe in a bottom-up approach, wherein the students now should come forward to make best use of the opportunities that ISBR is providing, because they are the brand ambassadors of ISBR, and I'm sure that each one of you, and you are saying that they have to work on an individual level and not as a group. So individually, so whatever has been spoken today is to each one of you individually, and you are the brand ambassadors, and now you have to take it forward. Whether it is industry mentoring or industry connect, it is you who have to take it forward and see that you become a brand for yourself, you become a brand for your family, you become a brand ambassador for the institution. Thank you so much. I would like to, on behalf of team of ISBR, I would like to thank all the panelists who are here and gave their words of wisdom to our students. Thank you so much.